Good afternoon. Been been trading pretty flat today, huh? Hanging out. Pretty chill Friday. Let's see what happens in the last 5 minutes though. I know what's gonna happen. Been pretty flat. Came off the low from earlier. That's when we got involved. Been above since. Had some above average plays. But nothing else has really been going on. Weekend trades. If right now you're going, I have 5 minutes to decide what I should put on for the weekend if I need to put anything. Or, I wonder if this little bit of take profit out of completely sideways trading all day is a sign that I might need to take my profit before Monday on some of my positions. I don't know. I'll tell you what though, there's a lot of positions that are very green right now. So again, there's going to be it's going to be a critical green Friday because from the start of the day, just about everything was break even and green. And again, today is also the case, besides the Dow just being where it started as well, which was lower to start the day. It's in the same spot as the rest of the market as well. So again, you have 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. It's been a very nice day. Very good for Monday. Very good for Monday. Any take profit here at the close is very good for Monday. And again, there's a lot of positions that are green. And then for the Dow, what I want to show you is don't forget the daily, where we are. You're on a trend line right here. That's a nice spot. Everything is in a very good spot. Very good spots. Very good spots. And again, there's a lot of green. We'll look at it. We'll look at it after close here. Market's not moving, guys. We've been trading flat all day. Any take profit is just take profit because it's the fucking weekend. So, again, there's nothing going on. Literally nothing's going to change in the last 2 minutes. Nothing is going to change, okay? Sorry. So again, if you're making decisions, it should not be off of what you see right now, okay? Keep it in mind. It's not how you make decisions. But Dawn, the wicks are moving a lot faster than before. That's probably because there's about twice as much volume. Chris took a little bit of this, took a little bit of it, gonna push it. GOWG, gonna push it up a ton, up a ton. TME pushing it. FedEx pushing it. TGI, imagine. DraftKings, imagine. Facebook, imagine. Or what are we getting? 40 seconds. We're gonna hold the open. Twenty seconds. Hold on, hold on. It's Friday. Friday. Ooh, nice. Get some extra action there. All right, folks. Happy weekend. Happy weekend. That's gonna be green on Monday. That's gonna be a green Monday. Prediction already. Prediction green. Prediction is more green. Let's take a look, guys. Okay, this week. What happened this week? All right, let's start with the leader of value. What happened this week? We had volatility in the market. The Dow is down, what? I think it's on the week down less than 1%. The Dow was down less than 1% this week of sideways trading, coming not really consolidating, but trading flat after this big breakout here, right? What happened in the rest of the market? Let's take a look at the S&P. Okay, where did the S&P start the week and where did it finish it? All right. S&P finished down a little over 1%, right? So a little bit took off a little bit more than the Dow, a little bit more volatility, right? All-time high as well, just like the Dow, all-time high. Actually, wait, was that the 15th candle or the 12th? No, I did that right. Okay. And then, of course, tech yesterday getting hit by yields again. Big surprise. Minus 3% yesterday. So again, when you look at the NASDAQ getting baited once again this week. So what's worse is that you can't stay in this position, whereas on the value side, you could stay in a position. So that was a big thing this week leading into next week. Now, there's a lot of different ways to play this week. We've talked about it. We don't need to really get too involved. One thing was avoiding getting hurt by this trade this week. We talked about it a lot coming into the week that you don't want to get baited on this. Now every single index started, closed a little bit lower than when it started this week, right? Even the Dow, even the value. But the difference is that was bullish already before and was already trading all-time highs. And so you could already be in a position and you have to make multiple other decisions. This lends to the fact that also yields are fucking growth while it's actually making it better for the value side. So again, we had a lot of trades this week that we were able to make buying on dips and pullbacks. And today we bought a lot on pullbacks and that are going to be probably very good next week because we keep trading what's bullish. You're not sure that this is going to be bullish. You're not. Yields keep hurting it, whereas on the value side, it's actually good for it. So again, the inflation idea is not going away. We had Powell speak this week, confirming it. The Fed, FOMC, confirmed it, right? They actually confirmed it with their dot plot, the votes, those midpoints confirming that there's an expectation that there's going to be interest rates coming back and that they all agree that the economy is heating up a lot quicker than we thought. That that inflation is going to be 2% by next year. And that's exactly what the Fed wanted, in over 2%, right? To get everything going. The market, of course, doing its, who knows? Who wants the economy going? Who wants the economy heating up, says the market. Who knows? And so the market continues to do this sort of, what's going on here? This market's doing this move that is, if maybe we go long tech and maybe if we sell all of our bonds, the Fed will do something, but that's not going to happen, right? So that was important this week. And so we saw a lot of rotation here, even though the week finished off sort of, it's finished off with some take profit and sort of slower. It's not going to take away from the overall trend, right? And that's an important thing to keep in mind. And also when you look at those individual positions that are doing well, not just the average, that's where you really start to see it. So let's take a look at some individual positions, see what we had today. LC this week really took off. Again, this is in line with banks took off this week, right? Banks really putting a number on. Now, you had to maneuver around that trade. You had to be taking advantage of it when you had it. Now, all of banks did well, specifically the big banks, and then tailing that after coming to the end of the week, regional banks sort of on the smaller cap side, right? That Russell 2000 index is basically just regional banks. And so then you had these sort of tertiary uh, financial companies and things tied to that. So again, little bit more tied to the economy. Things like LC did fucking phenomenal this week. Again, coming off of the breakout at the end of last week, we talked about the break here. Taking a trade like this, you gotta be able to stick with this kind of trade, or at the very least, when you take profit, re-enter. This is one of those trades that it's really easy that we talked about it at the beginning of the week to then forget about it by the end of the week, or a day like yesterday to see that it's down almost 1%. You have to maneuver around that a little bit. It's not something that needs to be brought up all the time. Something to point out because it is tied to the bank thing. Let me just bring up banks because again, that was a big thing this week. It's really easy to look at this and be like, oh, well, banks finished lower this week, so they really weren't strong. It's not about how it went from the start of the week to the close of the week. It's where the trade was. Where was the trade? We took the trade right here on the pullback. And we had this entire move here. You know how many percent this is? Some of you got like 300% or some shit on this. It's 4% on the average. Not very much, is it? It's the fact that when you look at the chart, you shouldn't be looking at the chart as, oh, that's fucking 5 red candles right there. Oh, herder. Right? For this week. No, what this is when you look at this through the lens of trading, you know what you had? You had this week starting with a pullback, take profit, but on your trend and on an event-focused kind of week with the Fed. And so when Fed Day came through and we get confirmation of these ideas, this was a very large move, right? It's a very large move. And that volatility gave us significant gain, right? It sounds like a boat's outside my fucking apartment. I don't know if you guys heard that, but anyway, this is an important trade. Now, it doesn't matter if, for instance, if you say this through the lens of, well, isn't it now down today, so you remove this? No, because yesterday, you already took that gain. No one here holds through this. And we talked about it yesterday. If you took this trade here, I know 100% that you took profit here, and we talked about it, why you should be doing so on that short-term trade, because you're given the points immediately, right? And that's what your bet is on exactly what the Fed was going to say. It's important to realize the difference between those two things. We've done it with oil recently where we're betting with OPEC and we get the gain. Take it. Take the points, right? This is going to be very interesting to see next week. Again, nothing's changed. The inflation trade's still on. The value trade's still on. Again, we don't think about it from 20 minutes, 30 minutes, a day, where it is tomorrow. We think about it, where's it going to be next week, the month after? And then we trade within a shorter term based on that sort of longer term macro view. It's important to always have that context. And these are the trades that are going to continue to perform well. And it's the trades that continue to be on a trend that are going to continue to get more demand, turn into more momentum. Things like Discovery, Viacom have fucking proven that. And I think that's good. Those trades are still pissing people off. So anyways, those are important. The Chris trade here this week, I think this is another one of those trades that, listen, this is like a brand new sort of chart. There's not much to it. And it's a chart that it's really easy to take advantage of when you just think about it in terms of levels. Talked about the resistance up here. If you break the resistance, you can take a trade. If you weren't already in the trade, well, there you go. As soon as it happens, it becomes very clear. It becomes very clear, right? As soon as it happens, it becomes very clear. And so it's a trade like that. It's just one trade, but it's one of the trades that add up to an overall gain, right? What about pot stocks? Okay, coming from 2 Fridays ago, right? Coming from 2 Fridays ago, you had a ton of volatility this week. You had multiple chances to take this trade, or at the very least to be in the trade and to push it to next week. Why? Because no matter which of them you look at, they're trading flat, launchpad sort of vibe. You should be in these. Again, it could be next week, could be the week after. Don't really know. You don't really know. But the fact is that they're very bullish and look very good. GRWG put 8.5, almost 8.5% on today, right? Something to keep in mind. Okay. Take a look at aerospace and defense. TGI continued to grow from here. Again, it's very easy to look at these charts and to be like, well, it's trading flat through here. It's not though. What did I say at the beginning of today, the way you should be looking at trades that you put on right now are the trades that are going to have higher volatility next week. That's what your bet really is. You're actually just making a bet that there's going to be higher volatility, which is just more movement. You're not just betting on direction. You're not just betting on some sort of speed. You're just betting on the fact that there's going to be more movement than the week before. This week was pretty much a flat week. Some of it has high spreads. Some of it has high spreads. It's this kind of trade that it seems flat, but it's going to have more movement, and that's all the bet needs to be. You had plenty of chances, and again, we've been pushing these kind of trades. When we look at the entire aerospace and defense, there's plenty of chances. Again, coming from the week before, even if you take this trade or if you wait for Monday here, anywhere in here, there's still your bet is okay. There's just going to be more movement than this week. That's all the bet is, right? That's all these really are. Oh, there's going to be more movement here. I mean, when you look at this chart, can you not tell me that it's not? It's one thing for it to be up or down. It's another thing to say, well, this closed and basically trade flat all week. It's not going to do that next week. That's all you have to do. That's all you need for a bet to actually pay, and you can just straddle it. And I talked about it today. I straddled like probably half of trades that I bet through this idea of some extra volatility being sort of the cornerstone of the trade instead of it just being a directional speed sort of oriented trade. I just put straddles on and said, hey, things were not moving very much this week. It's going to fucking move next week, though. And that's it. That's really the basis of the trade, which is basically all of value. Value is in a situation, and I'm not specifically saying what I'm most bullish on. Those bullish trending charts are going to continue to climb. That's just a fucking reality, right? So that's a reality. TME. This is a great trade this week. One to learn from, because again, you have a chart that's continuing to consolidate over months, not really ever breaking out of its range. And so it's doing some sort of consolidation, right? And so then to be able to go take this trade in that moment and know that during this candle here, it's different than the move here. It's different than the move here. It's different than through here. You have to be able to sometimes, without having a plan going into the day, be able to see price action and realize when the break's happening. I would go back and look at that day and see how this moment here was different and why I took the trade right then and there and why I'm able to push that trade. It's a trade like this. Again, that's just one trade, but that's one trade that you just made a few 100% on that you didn't have before and that other people didn't make, right? It's important to be able to make that kind of trade. And also through the lens that we're bullish on China going into next week when we haven't been before. And so there's a lot of different macro reasons as well, looking at different things that happen. You think about some of the weakness that we saw on the growth side, how our growth tickers are tied into yields and yields aren't going away, right? The inflation trade is not going away. And so the China growth looks a lot better. Be betting on the Hang Seng next week that this is going to do better. What does this look like? Looks like nothing happened. Looks like nothing happened. I'll bet that something is going to happen next week, right? That's all you have to really do. Again, I'm not bullish on growth, but I'll bet that it's going to move. I made the fucking Facebook trade, didn't I? I shit on Facebook for months. You think that's going to stop me from making this trade here? Nope. Made the trade, right? We talked about it right over here. And then I started the next day, but we had already talked about it. Taking the trade. This is one of those ones, a good example of, listen, guys, you can love a ticker and that's the only thing you want to trade, but you have to remove the bias. Or you can hate a ticker and never want to trade it, and then you need to trade it anyway when you have an opportunity. Olive growth was terrible, really, this week. I mean, the beginning of the week seemed promising, but again, it's just, all it is really a misdirection and misguided approach because, again, as soon as yields started to come back and as soon as the Fed spoke, as soon as Powell started talking, and as soon as 2 o'clock hit on Wednesday, all of tech sold, right? 3%. You just got fucked. You were in any option position, you're gone. You're not getting anything out of it, right? So again, that didn't happen to value. Value didn't do that. But there is still a ticker that on the outside of the average did well, right? And so it's important to be able to look through that. Be like, okay, well, why? There's not really a why. It's just the fact that the price is here. There is no fundamental. There is no fucking reason. Facebook is terrible, right? It's just bad. But guess what? The bias is not there in the price. The price has its own story. That's all it is, right? On on further on further trades on the value side, I think the energy one is this is the first week that we had the pullback on energy. Energy being still the leading sector this year, right? Still the leading sector. This trade today is going to be, again, it's one of those trades that, listen, I mean, it's a little, yeah, it's going to take some cojones to go take a trade down here at the low, right? When it's been pulling back. And now, again, the reason why the whole energy sector pulled back is because the price of oil is going down right now, right? And the chart looks exactly the fucking same, right? And so, yes, a little of this is tied to, well, expecting that to still go. Why? Because, again, the economy opening up is going to mean that price is going to continue to increase. That's just how economies fucking work. We'll see how much that ties in. I think based on what we know so far, if we just kind of remove some of that supply and demand of just taking out that macro understanding that, oh, well, oil is going to go up if the economy is doing well, just take it from the trend standpoint. The best performing sector is going to continue to perform even with a more sort of, I would say, a larger pullback considerably, right? And over more time. It's the time that really makes a difference here. We'll see how it does next week. Again, the bet's not just for Monday, it'll be for all next week. I have to imagine that this trade, if you don't lose value on Monday, this is the kind of trade that you're going to get significant points on because everyone is betting against the fact that this is going to come back. Because again, it's also sort of, you're buying something. It's almost like you're buying something at the top. The market thinks you're buying something at the top, but they also thought the same thing, that this was buying something that was worthless over here, right? It's the same thing that value is worthless, and then value puts the most points on this year. And now it's like it's turning it on the head. Well, value's at all-time high, so it's too high. It's too overvalued. It's like, well, just a month ago you were saying it was undervalued in the sense that it's just trash and it's just, you shouldn't even buy it because it's worthless. So again, there's a misguided approach on the market. I think that's an interesting trade. We'll see how it does next week, right? We'll see how it does next week. It's certainly going to be interesting, and it's important. It's an important part of what we're looking at. It's very much tied into the economy. And listen, if the economy's not gonna do well, then I guess all of our models and all of the math and everything that we know about inflation and the Fed, I guess it's all a conspiracy, and I guess it just didn't exist, right? People are actually still dying. I guess COVID is real, and COVID is everyone's dying. I mean, again, what's happening is going to continue to happen, right? It's not going to go away. There's no conspiracies. So, expecting everything to keep going. The transportation trades this week. This is probably an interesting trade to look back on. I'm going to look back on a little bit. We talked about in the last couple of days some of these transportation tickers and like distribution and different things, and then FedEx and UPS would be like some of the larger companies there. This kind of move here today, getting confirmation of that off of these trades here, I think is really interesting. Again, from this move here and onward, we talked about them. There's a lot of different trades. I would just go back and look at some of those. This is a lot of points, right? That's a lot of points. 6% on this fucking chart is a ton of points. And we talked about it. It was kind of a make or break week for these kind of charts, and I wouldn't really want to be a part of them anymore. This is great confirmation of that. And so I'm pretty excited about that. The prospects of that trade there. Peloton, Etsy. I mentioned these trades down here. We are just trying to bottom tick down here. We're quite literally just buying on support down here, the lower end of a range. Talked about sort of this double bottom idea. You get a lot of different ideas when you have this big of a downtrend coming into support down here. Now, yeah, I'm not bullish on growth or anything, but I'm bullish on price and how charts work and how people trade. And yeah, I mean, if you ask me, is tech going to be up in a month? Yeah, it'll be up. Will it be outperformed by other things? Absolutely. But I'm going to take the trade at the lowest point when I can and see if I can push that from the lowest point, because if you can buy from the absolute low and push it anywhere, that's just better, right? I'm not too worried about getting losing points down here on some of these charts that I would have to imagine from our understanding that this is the low of this consolidation and this move down here. And there's a lot of examples of this, and I think the best one from this week, an example, is buying fucking Baba down here. That, again, another example of I shit on Baba through this entire time. Where's Jack Ma, right? And then over here, finally wanted to get it, and guess what? All of a sudden, everything got tied to growth, and all of growth sold, right? Because of yields. And so this is all the yields increasing, just like we saw in the NASDAQ. Takes it away. It doesn't take away the fact, though, that the same thing applies. Again, China looking better here, and it's at a fucking low. Look at this. Perfect double bottom. Looks great for next week. We bottom tick this down here. I feel disgusted that I bought this down here, but you can't take away the fact what price is telling you, and it's really obvious now in hindsight to look at it, right? But again, we do it fucking live here. We're not bullshitting phonies over here. We take that trade when it's there, and guess what? We're getting great confirmation on it. This is the kind of trade that, again, it takes only one trade. You're talking about a few 100%. A few 100% on like a serious amount of money, right? Not some bullshit like 2 contracts worth $500, right? That you make 200% on. And it doesn't matter. These are trades that are going to possibly really get you paid, right? It's important to be able to get those, right? So I'm going to probably post a lot of charts. I'm not exactly sure how many like actually broke out. I'm not going to draw random lines if it's not there, but there's quite a bit of charts here. So over the weekend, I'm going to try to look through everything and try to find these, because again, I haven't really looked at growth very much, but I've made a lot of these trades without really backing it up with some sort of with actual patterns that I usually do. So I need to obviously get what I'm trading on sort of paper with lines and everything. So I'm going to look to do that over the weekend, since we had so many trades this week that are really they're not breakout trades. They're just purely support buys. It's important that I probably put those out there, again, just for myself and for learning purposes. So look for those. Discovery, Viacom, these charts, again, just continue to trend. I don't know what I need to say about these, but obviously this is just pushing through all-time high, trending every fucking day. So you got to just be a part of the trade and stop doing the weird thing where price pulls back and I don't know, it's over. I have no idea, right? I have no clue. Okay, the other really cool trade this week was home builders, which came and went and then came back. I'm going to use just the nail chart because it's fun. Or maybe the ITB chart we should. Nah, we'll just use this one. We have a couple different charts for it. This kind of move in here. Remember, this is the Fed day. Charts like this, it's important to realize when we're trading around. I know I talk so much about like not trading news or anything like that. It's important that when there's an actual economic event, like some sort of calendar event, that we take advantage of it in the sense of the way that we trade in our method. And so, yes, we should not be trading. We don't trade around earnings, and we don't try to look at headlines and build a story and then say, well, based on what I've read, here's what I think is going to happen. That's just poor trading, right? The people that do that, and they just lose money because it's the same information everyone has. And just because you think something like, oh, I think that this next quarter they're going to do better because of this. Like, how many times did people do that during COVID and are just proven wrong every fucking time? It's a waste of time. It's just being an amateur and not knowing. There's a big difference between that and then when there's a fucking FOMC day and making decisions around that, if the market is making mistakes, which is exactly what happened. And we have a lot of examples of that. For instance, the bank trade, right? Imagine not thinking banks were going to go up after that fucking day, right? That's a bet. That's a bet on an event. And so when those things happen, it's important to realize when you can make that trade and when you can't. This week was a good example. We know exactly what the Fed's going to say. You guys all said it in chat. You all know, even if I don't tell you, it doesn't matter if I tell you anymore. You're always going to have the bias now, and you're always going to react like that now. So even if I don't tell you, you're always going to do the same thing now because now you realize all that it is that the market doesn't actually realize and they want to react. Like participants just want to react. Guess what? Algos have to just react. They are not preemptive. Computers are reactive. Yes, we're reactive traders as well, but when we have a moment in which we know something, what are the chances that Powell's going to come out with like no clothes on, or that he's going to bring a gun onto the stage, like on the camera? What are the chances that he's going to wear like fruit on his head? These like really stupid fucking things that could possibly happen, like possibly trying to crash the market by saying like, what is he going to say? That no, you know what? We're not supporting the market anymore. I'm really pissed that you guys are all selling treasuries, and you know I love my treasuries, and like none of that stuff was going to ever happen. And there's only one thing that could possibly happen, right? It's almost the market does, but we know how the Fed is, and so again, when this trade is coming up, there's a lot of different things that we can look at, and we can see where prices is and be like, well, is price in the right spot? Is price like, did banks price in that there's going to be inflation and that it's likely that interest rates will change sooner than later? Banks being the ones that want higher interest rates. The rest of us really don't, but the banks do because they make more money. Let's take a look. What happened the days before the Fed day? Oh, banks pulled back, right? That means they're just wrong. Like, how many times do I go, no, that price is just wrong? That's because it's literally just fucking wrong. And now, yeah, it's down here today. It doesn't matter because everyone took fucking profit on it. Because the reason why price is here is because everyone that entered here took profit on it over here. That's how you know that there's people that are in the know, right? Which is just being on the right side. Just being on the right side. And so the home builders was a similar trade, right? Home builders being a similar trade. Here it is. Here's the day. This is 11.5% on this chart, and that's it. I talked about it. You take it. Take it. You just were given a gift. Here's Powell. Or here's coming into the day. This is Powell over here. That's 2 o'clock right there. Look at that. Because we've been getting this a lot, and I realized that I talked about it after this day, that I'll be more specific from now on. There's a lot of times when I'll talk about an idea, or even the market or someone else fucking smart will have an idea, and I'll read it from somebody or some idea they have. Or again, I'm just talking myself here when I'm talking about this at like, I don't know, fucking right at the open, that, you know what, based on what we're going to get, again, we're going to get a confirmation of reinflation and that the economy's opening up. We already know there's a shortage on the housing market. Home builders are going to fucking go up. And where are they right now? Well, they're fucking trading sideways and they're down relatively, right? They're not up anymore, right? They're still in the same range. We had just taken the trade again over here, right? We'd taken this trade multiple times, trading it basically between a range. That trade, and in that much time, that time frame, you're talking about a significant amount of money. Again, the fact that this happened all at once. Look at the difference between candles on these charts. Looks like garbage comparatively to right here, right? And this is hours before the Fed releases, right? And all of a sudden, everyone realizes at the same time. Because why? Because some of us are making trades. I'm going to go over to the WBA thing in a second, because that's the fucking holy grail, and you guys are going to fucking enjoy it. Listen, over here, as soon as people start making trades on here, this is the underlying. It's not showing you what's happening on the options and the other tickers. Because those trades are being made in here and on the option side, everyone can fucking see it. Everyone can fucking see it, and everybody knows what's going on. And so then as soon as this comes in here, this is just confirmation that everyone goes, oh, right. But they're just reacting to the market. They're just waiting to react to make sure. And so again, this is fucking computers going, oh, right, the math is right. That makes sense. And so then everyone buys it, and then look, then you get confirmation here. You get confirmation here, and then that's when, again, it's the idea of fucking selling on the news, right? It's not just selling the fucking news. It's you just got paid all of this in instantly, literally in a few hours. So again, you take it. I even talked about taking it right as Powell fucking spoke, right? Because it's like, well, I'm gonna get filled. Thank you, play again. That's a great trade. That's a great trade. And again, I just want to I'm not pointing out specifically this trade, but the fact we don't generally trade events or news.
We trade the Fed though, because it's confirming an idea that we already have, something we're already a part of, right? And we've already been trading value and getting fucking confirmation through profit, right? All right, let's talk about this meme. This meme and a half, right? Okay. WBA this week. We didn't talk about too much over here because I don't like to gloat. But this trade here has been proven, or at least we've proven gamma wise. And that's why I talk so much about today about your betting on volatility, right? Those of you that don't know, and there's not many people in here, so maybe on the fucking recording. Back here, 2 Fridays ago, bought up the entire. There was basically no open contracts at all. And so what was happening? Well, all of retail stores were very bullish. This thing was not moving though. It was stuck in supply, which means that market makers were obviously just selling off all exposure. So over here, bought up the entire fucking option chain, right? What happened from there? Okay, well, other people start buying. Retail stores are bullish, and so the move starts. And again, we're making the trade because we also expect it to be higher because, again, retail stores are doing well, right? And we got a breakout that never happened. Okay, it's one thing to be like, oh, well, it immediately came up after. No, it's the move that led into this week that fucking happened, right? It got squeezed, guys. It got fucking squeezed. Now, am I the one that caused it? I don't really know because there's about 10 times as many calls as that I had over here, right? There's just fucking considerably more than I had here. So it's a momentum driven thing. It's everyone else. It's really all the buying in here that causes this thing to actually happen in the first place, right? Okay, let's talk about it. These were up thousands of percent, right? Thousands of percent. The specific ones we had were about 1,600, came in at about 1,000 on the average on the full take profit because I also wanted to hold it over here. I want to just give it like a mention on the way that this interacted because I thought it was interesting. So I talked about it here on Monday. So, on Monday, when this first hit resistance, right, I started the unloading, right? I started taking profit. And so when this first happened, I talked about it on the call. And so what I said was that I wanted to prove a point. And so part of like the research was to see how price would react, right? How you could get price to react. So I talked about it. I started taking profit here, and right as soon as this happened, that we got the stop at resistance, I realized what was happening. And I said, I'm gonna stop taking profit. So I said, I'm gonna hold them. The next time it came through, this thing went through no problem. Sliced it like butter. It had no problem. And so again, the first time I was selling everything, and then this time I wasn't. Again, there was significantly more contracts out there comparatively to when we started. I might have been like 80% of them to start. By this point, I'm fucking a minority, right? I mean, not entirely, but for March contracts in the strikes I had, absolutely, right? For the 50s, absolutely. This point, I stopped selling and the fucking price came through. If you look at the price action from here after, it's really interesting. And again, it makes sense if you think about it through the idea of acceleration and for the move to continue. And so the fact is that it stopped gaining. And so of course the market makers are going to start taking profit. This is a little too linear for it not to be them. And also look at where the price interacted here on the level. It gapped the supply, which means now you have all the sellers on top of you here. You don't have the buyers anymore. The contracts here are already delted out of their mind. So they're only losing 1-to-1. And so you lost only about 2% here, like 2% on the options themselves. So we're talking about you went from 1,600% to like 1,588, right? Literally. So again, that's something to keep in mind. This still held. You know why this still held even after I took all of my profit in here. I got about 1,000% average on those contracts. Again, I had thousands of fucking contracts. They were worth basically pennies when we got them. The average was 40 cents, right? Right around 40 cents on thousands of contracts. And again, they finished like 1,000% higher. All of this, guess what? They still all fucking exist right now. All those contracts still exist right fucking now. And guess what? They were 50s. They were 50s. So they were right above break even. So all of them exist right now. It's going to be fucking awesome to see what happens on Monday for these. They all exist. And so look, all of the exposure stayed on. All of the market maker exposure stayed on. And so when we talk about with like the whole idea of doing this was to find out how exactly things worked. We got the squeeze up, but we didn't get the squeeze down because they stayed in the money. They have intrinsic value still. If price went past the break even point, then they wouldn't be worth anything. But all of these contracts still, a majority of them are below the price here, and so they're in the money and they're actually worth something. And so what we're going to see is whether or not, now that they all expire tomorrow in the morning, again, contracts expire today, but they don't technically fall off until tomorrow. We're going to see what happens on Monday because they're all going to be gone, but the exposure is still there. The market makers still have exposure right this moment, and they're going to have exposure until technically tomorrow. We're going to see what happens Monday, but all of these had value, which means the market makers probably fucking picked them up. They had exposure, and so they just go neutral. This isn't going to move at all tomorrow, on Monday. It's not going to move at all on Monday. The hypothesis should be that price does not move on Monday whatsoever, even though the market makers still own a significant portion of the underlying because of the exposure to all the calls, fucking the meme calls from down here. They should cancel each other out. They should just completely cancel each other out. And Monday, this should just be fucking right where it started, right where it closed today. That's the hypothesis and what it should be. But again, this didn't get squeezed down. This got squeezed up. I talk about it. The gamma squeeze goes both ways. That move to the upside, and then it can move all the way to the downside. That movement, because they just they do the same thing both ways. It didn't happen here. It's going to be really interesting to see. And again, profit's nice, but it's more interesting to see. And so we're trying to figure out this whole gamma, the whole way that really the question is how much, like what is the absolute point at which this starts, right? And then at what point does it end? And when does it get affected? And by who and where and how and what? These questions matter. And so we got some answers. Now we need to see Monday and how that picks up from where it left off. How do market makers now manage that position that they no longer need to be exposed to anything? Maybe all of those so many things that could happen. We don't know. And so we're going to be watching those. They all could become April monthlies, right? You have no fucking idea. And so this was really cool. And again, this only moved, guys. This only moved over. We're talking about in the teens, right? At the most 19%, but again, this finished up like 12% higher. When I got the full thing, it was just 15% on the underlying was 1,000%. Imagine 15% on the underlying was 1,000% on contracts, right? In a week. It's an important factor to remember and remember how artificial this was. That's not how percents work. You don't get 15% on the underlying, get 1,000%. That's how artificial this was. That's a really interesting lesson to learn. And again, that's sort of the byproduct of the meme economy and everything else. This is not a meme stock. Right? This is a part of a bullish move with other tickers. We want to find these fucking opportunities. This is not just a fucking research project. This is not just having a good time with my fucking friends, right? This is 1,000% from just actual artificial creation, having market makers write calls, squeeze the fucking underlying, all fully legal, nothing wrong with it. There's no deep fucking value getting press conference out of your mind. This is 1,000% that you got in a week on a significant amount of money that was not doing jack all. This thing wasn't fucking moving. It was the same price as fucking back here. Wasn't doing anything in here, right? This is something that's really important, and it's going to happen more and more, and I'm going to be looking to do it because it did not take very much money to cause it. And it didn't take very much money. Didn't have to tell anybody. Didn't have to prove anything. Again, creation of wealth. Taking something of lower value, turning it into something of higher value. Also, you can turn that into convincing someone else that it has higher value than it does here. Speculation causes that as well. All the options being bought, again, this is the derivative of the option market. All those options happened here, and then this happened. This is something to learn from. Might post something over the weekend. We'll see. I'm going to obviously have some information about it. I'll talk about it, but I think this was fucking awesome. Again, 1000% is no fucking joke. So I'm going to have a great weekend. I hope you guys have a great weekend. This was a lot of fun. Again, Dow 34,000 by April 1st. Again, we didn't get it by today, but that would have been insane, and I would have literally never talked to you guys again. I'm just kidding. I love you guys. Just kidding. I'll see you guys on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your evening, your morning, your night, wherever you are. And I will see you then. Awesome week, guys.